Do not do what I'm about to show you. But here's the thing. The rules at the moment mean you can't do this process. But mark my words, in the future, the rules will change and you'll be able to use a process like this. And it's really important for you to know exactly what AI tools can do for you right now. So this is what I would do if I needed to write a peer-reviewed paper now with AI tools and the workflow I would use. So the first thing you need to do is have data. Then you need to turn that data into magical graphs and schematics that will wow your viewer, and it's easier than ever. So I would use a tool like Julius. This is Julius, and I've put in some raw data. The raw data was just direct from a machine, and I've said this is a 4-point probe measurement. Turn it into a figure so I can understand the results. And essentially throughout your PhD and research, you need to be generating these kind of like visual representations of your research. So here we are, it did all of the thinking for me, and down here it kicked out this. Nice! That is something I can use to start understanding my data, coming up with research stories. I could then put that into something like ChatGPT and say, create a research story. So once you've got all of your data from something like Julius AI or another data analysis AI tool, you can go over to something like ChatGPT, and this is where you need to turn that data and those figures into a research story. And it's easier than ever because with visual capabilities like in ChatGPT and other large language models and even agentic AI tools, you can now say, look at this. Now, give me a story. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, 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 squeezy. All right then. So here we have the 5 figures I've uploaded, and I've just said these figures are forming a chapter in my thesis. Suggest a story structure and an outline for this chapter. So what you need to be doing is make sure that you can kind of create a nice research story with your figures. You need to sort of like be able to say to someone, my research tells me this, which means this, which means this, and therefore that's important for these reasons. If you can say that basic story to someone, easy peasy. So, I like saying peasy today, don't I? So now we go down, it's given me a nice research story and it's given me a structure for the figures. Now here's the thing, is that you need to be constantly generating these stories. Sometimes the story's not complete, and that tells you need to go back and collect more data and sort of like go through that iteration of getting data, turn it into figures and schematics or tables, trying to fit that into a broader story or create new stories and spin-off stories. But once you have, let's say, 5 to 6 figures that can form a story for a research paper, this is where the new AI tools, the agentic AI tools, really come into their own. Check this out. So I put in 5 figures into GenSpark. This is GenSpark. I put in the figures and I just simply said, use these figures to create a story structure for a peer-reviewed paper submission. And then it understood the images and it gave me this proposed paper structure. We have everything that a typical PhD or research project would produce. And we have an introduction, a materials and methods, and it even knows what materials and methods I use, even though I didn't give it to it. It was just in one of the schematic images. And here we have the fabrication process, characterization techniques, then we have results and discussion. Now here's the thing, all of the things that I'm about to show you, the results and discussion is where you really need to use your PhD and your research brain to really understand the results and what it means. But to get to a first draft, it's easier than ever, and this is a great starting point. So results and discussion, you can see it recommends using the morphological analysis, then the electrical properties, then the optical properties, and all of that sort of stuff. So it's now saying put it into like this sort of order and you're golden. So this is what I would do, and then down here it's got conclusions, and it knows I need acknowledgements and references. But we can go further than that, peeps. We can say create a paper draft. Easy. Create a paper draft. 4 words that do all of the heavy lifting for you, and this is what I did. So it took that structure and I just said, yeah, create a paper draft. Okay, I'll need to create a paper draft based on the figures provided. It went away. It did it for like, I don't know, 20 minutes. You can go and relax. You come back and you end up with something like this. I've created a complete paper draft, and GenSpark at the moment, as this video is released, I think is the best tool for doing a full paper draft, and you'll see what I mean right now. So if you head over to here, high performance, flexible, transparent electrodes, it knows I need authors. It knows that, I need to put their affiliation. I know that I need a corresponding author. We've got abstract. It's a really, really great abstract considering I gave it nothing other than the figures and the figure captions. And this is a great starting point. The abstract is strong. The introduction is strong. Materials and methods, you go through and you make sure that it makes sense. This is you now sort of like taking more of a leadership role in this paper production where the grunt work's done for you, and now you say,
do I agree with this? Do I not agree with this? Do I need to critically analyze this thing a little bit deeper?
That is up to you. That's where your job as a researcher really comes in when you're using AI. And, creating these words on a page, it's easy now. People don't like it right now. And by people, I mean the journals, because they feel like there's some sort of weird academic dishonesty thing going on if you generate text using AI in this process. But mark my words, in the future, once they realize that it can actually earn them a little bit of money, I think, they're going to absolutely love this and they're going to allow it. So rules at the moment don't allow you to submit something like this, but in the future, they will. So, okay, results and discussion. This is where it's the weakest because you really need to have a background knowledge of your particular research field to really understand the importance of the results and discussion. But for a first draft, this is brilliant. And it took me those 4 words to generate, so it's just super easy. Look, it knows what is going on in the figures because of the research captions I gave it. And really, I read over it, and this is a better first draft than I could ever produce. Then we've got effect of silver nanowires, loading density on sheet resistance, they put it there. They give us stuff, notably, the silver nanowire networks with 28% single walled carbon nanotubes consistently exhibited lower sheet resistance compared to silver nanowire only networks. Is that true? Oh, it sure is. Look at that. It knew it. Oh, I love all of this. Surface morphology and optical properties. I've been through it. Like I said, this is better than like a first draft I could do. It references everything really, really well. Look at that. Performance and applications. It even gives me a little bit of a table that I didn't give it the data for, but it's kind of extrapolated and created that. So if you're creating like a peer-reviewed paper, clearly you need to have a table in there at some point. You could use this as a starting point. Conclusions, lovely, lovely conclusions. Acknowledgements, it knows acknowledgements, and it's even giving me references. Now, obviously, I would go away and check to make sure these aren't hallucinated, but 11 references is a great place to start if you're writing a peer-reviewed paper for submission. Oh my God, it's never ever been easier, and it can even help, and by it, I mean AI, can even help in the sort of submission stages and checking, because at the moment we need to take this first draft and work on it ourselves, go through iterative processes with AI supporting us to flesh out the proper information, make sure it's academic, make sure that it's concise, rigorous, all of those things we love as academics. And once you're at that kind of like first draft stage where you're like, maybe this should be submitted, forget sending it off to your collaborators for them to look at it, do this. Alright, for revising it and editing it, this is what I really recommend. Thesify, there's not a tool like this on the market at the moment, and this isn't sponsored, by the way. Here you can see that Thesify, I've uploaded a paper, and this is the tab here, feedback. Find by evaluation below. Great little cat, or Theo I think his name is. Hello Theo. And then we get feedback summary. Each one of these drop down accordions tells you what works well, what can be improved. You don't need to wait for your supervisor or your collaborator to read it over and out and give you information and suggestions and what do they call it? Constructive criticism, which sometimes is just mean criticism, isn't it? Naughty, naughty, stop being mean. But here you can say we've got early stage feedback, we've got purpose. It says it can be improved. This is what it reckons my thesis statement is about. I've met it. Oh, this one I've only partially met. So here I can see that I partially met something. How can I improve it so that this actually ends up with met? And then it says this paper mentions that the findings regarding blah, 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 but does not provide detailed examples. Oh, I should put examples in. Thanks very much, Theo, which is that little cat. Meow. And then we've got thesis statement, we've got evidence, like all of the things that a typical person would give you on a rough draft. can be found here, and I absolutely love it. Put it into Thesify. They give you free credit, so why wouldn't you just put it into something like this just to check? And it goes even better, because after we've checked it, after we've been through revisions, after we've made sure that Thesify has given us the thumbs up on all of the different sections, there's another tab which makes submission super obvious. So these are the bits that we need to know about. Here we get digest, we get opportunities, and it's in this sort of like resources tab, which was the next one along, where sort of Thesify goes that next step, which often confuses new researchers and even established researchers, to be honest, because here you can see it's got publications that I'm very similar to. So maybe I should go through and reference some of these things. I should certainly know about them, if nothing else. Then journals. Here is where we can actually find journals to submit our peer-reviewed paper. It knows what's the content, and now it sort of like says, okay, you're most similar to these sort of journals or these sort of papers that are published in these sorts of journals. So we can see here we've got nanoscale advances. That's where I reckon it should go. It gives me a 93% match, so I could start there, or I could start in nanotechnology reviews, or I could go to ACS, applied nanomaterials, or I could go to frontiers of physics. All of these things are so very, very valuable to know, and it just takes the kind of effort of deciding where to publish, and the experience that you need to build up sort of like traditionally is just by submitting and seeing where it sort of sticks, or looking at references and being like, oh, it's mainly in this journal, I'll submit there. Now we've got an easy way to get a really first kind of like what would you call that? A target list of journals, that's what we'll call it. And you can even see if you want to talk about your research in a conference, you can go to conferences. It will tell you that there's a conference coming up and that maybe I should apply for it. Look at all this. I love this. Oh, I'd love to go to Barcelona in Spain. Oh, I'd love to go to Okinawa in Japan. Oh, I'd love to go to Zagreb in Croatia. Oh, I love it. This is great. Thesify really helps you sort of like make sure that your first draft and what you're submitting is peer review ready, and it even helps you with the processes afterwards. That's what I would use. Check it out for your stuff. If you like this video, go check out this one where I talk about writing your thesis with AI and the tools that you can use. Love it.